Welcome. Welcome back to In the Meantime. Today, I will continue on the topic of the benzo nightmare. In my last video, I ended where I was telling you about how I was trying to stop taking the benzo without success. I would take the least amount possible that would enable me to be able to go to work, go to church, take care of my son, and just about do some of the stuff that I needed to do. Um, I was still having symptoms like the panic attacks. They were very bad. I had other symptoms like difficulty sleeping, insomnia. I had frequent attacks of sleep paralysis. Um, Sleep paralysis is when you wake up and you can't move, you can't talk, but you can hear. I could hear the TV if it's on, I could hear the radio if it was on, I could hear talking, and I would try to move, but I couldn't move, and it was very, very frightening. I tried to talk, I tried to scream, but all that would come out would be a gurgled sound. So after a while, I learned to ask my son, I think he was about 6 by then, to, if he ever heard mommy making that sound, to come and slap me gently or even hard, because I realized that that would help me to get out of the paralysis. I also had sometimes where I felt like my head was being pumped up, like somebody put a bicycle pump and was blowing up my head. Um, One of the things I hated the most was when I was trying to fall asleep, I would feel like an electrical shock go going through my heart, and it was so uncomfortable. There were nights I cried. I literally cried. I did not know what to do. I prayed. I asked God to take it away. It never went. I think to me, even worse than the panic attacks was that one, because it would keep me up at nights. And then if I eventually fell asleep, then I would get the sleep paralysis. Interestingly, apart from the panic attacks, I did not associate the other symptoms with the benzo withdrawal. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I felt ill. However, I pushed through. I kept fighting. I kept praying, asking God, whatever it was, to take it away. Um, I don't think I went to any doctor for it because there was nothing they could do, and I hid it well. I I didn't really complain about it. Um, Even for the panic attacks, I would get them even in front of the class when I'm teaching. It would come on me suddenly, and I got skilled in dealing with them. It's a good thing that my classroom had another room next to it that I could just tell the students, excuse me, I'm going to do so and so, and I would excuse myself and go in that room until it passed. So I was able to hide it very well. And as for the other symptoms, I never really complained. I just knew I didn't feel well and I just had to do what I had to do. There was one summer that I decided that, in fact, I went to a doctor, an older doctor, and I told him what was happening to me. And he said, you need to get off this medication. So he put me on another type of benzo and told me to get off it. He didn't tell me how to get off it. He just told me get off it. So I knew I couldn't stop it suddenly. So I developed a method that I would use. So I said, okay, I'm going to take 2 weeks and cut myself off. And then, oh, I should tell you that it was during summer, the beginning of summer holidays, and we could get 8 weeks for summer holidays. So I figured that I could get off it, I could go through the symptoms, and by the time school would reopen, then I would feel better. So I reduced and reduced, and I think within 2 weeks, I stopped taking them. And oh, of course, I was so sick. The panic attacks, not feeling good in my head, having to lie down all the time. Um, there was, I was also getting a jerky feeling like I would be getting a seizure. But I knew because um, I had read up on some of the withdrawal thing that when I had gotten that pamphlet, I did read that you could get seizures if you stop it suddenly, but I didn't stop it suddenly. So I realized that some of that jerking was from me stopping it. Um, I went and stayed by a friend of mine to help with the symptoms and to be able to function. Well, not function, but to have help. I had sent my son to stay with other family members, and I stayed with my friend, and she was very, supportive and so forth. But the panic attacks, and I was always lying down, and it was like, I don't know, it was like life didn't mean anything. Anyway, when it came to close for school to reopen, I was no way better. So I had no choice but to go back on it so that I could be able to go to work. 3 years later, after going on benzo for the first time, I got married. Shortly after that, in fact, yeah, very quickly I got pregnant. And of course, now I was very worried because I had read that um, taking benzos while pregnant could have teratogenic effects, meaning that it could affect the fetus. So I was so worried. I spoke to the doctors about it. They said, don't worry. I wasn't satisfied with that, so I went to Kingston again, the capital of Jamaica, which was 3 hours away, to see a specialist and talk to them about being pregnant and being on this medication. He assured me that it would not affect the baby. I was still worried. Um, During the pregnancy, surprisingly, most of the symptoms left. I wasn't feeling that sick anymore. I'm thinking that the pregnancy hormones sort of protected me. I would get a panic attack now and again. I was still taking, but I had reduced it to like a very, very small. It would be like a pinch. I have my friend would she would still remind me that, oh, I remember when you would just take a little pinch of the medication. But what I didn't know, which I learned many years later, was that the Xanax that I was on, or the alprazolam, which is the generic drug, was one of the two most potent benzos on the market. And that is why I had such difficulty getting off them. And that is why just taking a little piece was like I was taking a lot. So, anyway, as I said, I didn't have much issues during pregnancy. I gave birth and just thinking, um, I put two and two together. I'm not a doctor, but I kind of use my common sense that um, it could get into the breast milk, and I did not want the baby to continue getting it. And I also didn't want to stop the breast milk suddenly. So I did speak with my the doctor who delivered me, the OBGYN, and I expressed to him my concern about my daughter um, getting the breast milk with the drug in it. So he worked out a table for me where I would reduce her getting the breast milk, and then supplement it with formula. And I did that and got her off the breast at 6 weeks. And then she was on formula from there on. I still kind of worried and wondered if she was affected by it, but um, to date, I have not seen any sign of anything like that. Thank God. Um, as I said, I kept fighting, I kept praying, but nothing seemed to help. Um, at 4 years after my taking the benzo for the first time, I migrated with my daughter and my son. So when I came to Canada, I eventually got a doctor. In fact, I should say that what I did was I brought up enough alprazolam to keep me until I was able to get a family doctor. So when I got the family doctor, I told her, she was a very nice lady. I told her that I was diagnosed with panic disorder, because remember, that's what they had diagnosed me with. So she um, referred me to a specialist. This is a specialist who dealt with anxiety disorders. And in fact, he was well renowned. It was later on that I found that out. So I went to see him and I told him, I said, listen, I do not want to take this medication. Could you please help me to get off? He said, no, you need it. I said, I do not want to be addicted to anything. He said, it's not an addiction. I said, I don't want to be dependent on anything. I need to get off it. He said, I should not look at it like that. I should look at it that I have a condition for which I need the drug. He said, if I had high blood pressure, I would have to take medication. If I had diabetes or any other disease, I would have to take medication. So I should look at it like that. I asked him, I said, is this drug safe in the long term? Because I realized that if I had to continue taking it, and because it was so difficult to get off, then it was going to be a long term thing. So I asked him if it was safe, and he said, yes, it is safe. I kind of pushed back for a while not to increase the dose, but he did increase the dosage. And after I started taking the increased dosage, the panic attacks and so forth kind of eased up. And I started feeling better. I started feeling normal. So I said, okay, then, if this is what I have to do to function and to live a normal life, then I guess this is my fate. So I continued taking it, and he had to increase it one more time to a level that kept away the panic attacks mostly. I hardly had any. In fact, he prescribed an extra dosage that if I had a panic attack, then I would take that extra dose. And I could say that for the many years that I had been on it, I hardly had to take that extra dose. And I tried to be disciplined in that I did not take the extra dose. I just stayed at the dosage that enabled me to be okay. So life went on. I was now functioning, and I felt that all will be well. I did not know that this was going to turn into more than a nightmare. I will stop here, and I will pick up again and tell you what ensued after that. Thanks for listening. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment, share with me if you have any experiences when it comes to benzos. I should give the names of some of the other benzos. Off the top of my head, there is Valium. We call it Valium in the Caribbean. They call it Valium here. There is Valium. The generic name is diazepam. There is clonazepam. There is lorazepam. There is Xanax, which is alprazolam. So kind of most of them end in AM. A lot of them. There is Frisium. There is Librium. And as I said, the type that you will get depends on where in the world you are. In North America here, from what I see, I've seen Librium, I've seen Frisium. North America and the Caribbean. Librium, Frisium. I've seen here in North America, common is lorazepam, Valium, and alprazolam. So yeah, as I said, I had counted about 23 different types. And it depends on where you are. Again, as I know I'm repeating myself, but it depends on where you are in the world. Because I will give you some more information later on um, as to how I realized that. So again, in the comment section, let me know if you have had any experiences with benzodiazepine. Um, have you ever been on them? Are you taking any? And are you having any withdrawal symptoms or side effects from them? So until I talk with you again, God bless you.